Okay, good morning, Taylor, and welcome to our first installment of Coffee with Rick Sollars. Okay, Rick is with me here. My name is Carl Zymak, and from now until the election in November, we're going to be coming to you every Monday morning with some news and views out of Taylor, mainly about the political scene and the city government in Taylor. This is going to be a weekly series. We're going to be coming to you on video Monday mornings all the time. You'll be able to access them Facebook, possibly even Twitter at some point in time, on our website. All of those lines and numbers will be on these images as we come to you. Rick is a businessman, a two-time council person, and he's an active member of the community, serving on the boards of the Taylor Reading Corps and the Taylor Botanical Gardens, a couple of really popular nonprofits in Taylor. This first show is more of an introductory show than anything else. We're going to be dealing in some generalities today. As the show goes forward, we'll be getting much more in-depth on some of these issues. Rick, welcome. Congratulations on your primary win earlier this month. And we wanted to start with just some general statements from you about changing Taylor together. That's the motto of the campaign. That's what you stand for, and can you kind of address that for us?
Absolutely. Well, first of all, let me start by saying thank you. Thank you, Carl Zymek, and thank you to all the Taylor voters. We were fortunate enough to win the primary election and allowing us a path to the November election, and we're really excited about that. Changing Taylor together really is more than a slogan. It has so much more meaning to just a campaign slogan. Some of our focuses are, our top three are public safety, economic development, and parks and recreation. And what we've seen in this administration, the current administration, when they ran in the previous election, they ran on a platform of "Are you safer today than you were 4 years ago?" And what we learned is that the answer is no to that right now. Currently, we had until the primary election, we had 2 closed fire stations. We have 20 or so less police officers in PD. I mean, clearly this administration has lost focus on public safety, and it's a big part of our campaign. I mean, everything starts with public safety. Businesses look to our community and they look at the public safety system first. Homeowners look to our community and they look at the public safety system. We're not proactive. In some cases, we're hardly even reactive. Economic development is another vital part of our campaign, and changing Taylor together means that we have to find revenue streams. And revenue streams come through a lot of different facets, but one of those is economic development. We need businesses to want to come to Taylor. Taylor's a great community. I mean, logistically, we have so many things to offer an up-and-coming business, an existing business, or somebody a corporation like Masco that wants to make their headquarters home to Taylor, as Masco has done and has been here for a long time. So we really need to put a focus on economic development and find partners that want to come into the city of Taylor. It strengthens our tax base, number one, and it creates job opportunities, number two. And those two are simply, they haven't been here in the last 3.5 years under this current administration. And the third and final component, is the Parks and Recreation programs. We have simply seen these programs decimated. Heritage Park, they're getting by with skeleton crews. The grass is, typically not managed the way it should be. Cone Lake, if you look at the seawalls, there's a ton of erosion beyond the seawalls. We have big expenses ahead of us, and we have to find solutions for that. The recreation programs, whether it's the rec center that has now been closed for over 2 years and nearly 500 members displaced, these are things, our community deserves to have these opportunities. We have a lot of young kids in Taylor, and they deserve these programs, and this is just some of the things that changing Taylor is all about.
It's also going to be tough in a month like August when you don't have any pools.
Absolutely. Yeah, we had 2 pools in Taylor, one in the community center, and this administration made an executive decision to close them in the dark of the night and fill that particular pool in, essentially never having an opportunity to reopen that. And I'd just like to point out, a year prior to, we put nearly $60,000 in renovations into that pool. Those kids in that area of Taylor won't have an opportunity anymore. That pool's not coming back. The pool in the north side of town, that's another story. That pool's still here. It hasn't been opened. The kids haven't had an opportunity to go anywhere and enjoy that. So, that's one that, next summer we'll be able to open up. We'll be able to create that opportunity again. So, in those hot summer months, those are great things for the kids to do.
The mayor, in Dave Comer's latest article in the News Herald, was talking about the media play deal. And he is alleging that city council, their delay of the deal has cost the city money now. Where do you stand on that?
Carl, I still find it interesting. The current administration, they find more excuses than solutions. The city council just wanted a simple, fair bidding process. We requested it to go to a sealed bid. Ultimately, we went from $548,000 to over $600,000. I mean, we had a net gain of over $50,000. We still haven't closed as of today. The deal still isn't done yet. Yet the mayor's coming out with more excuses as to why they missed an opportunity for a major retailer, and instead they got Spirit Halloween. The reality of it is Spirit Halloween was coming here with regardless who the tenant or who the landlord is. They have been a tenant with that particular facility for the last several years. They would have leased the space from the city of Taylor. They would have leased the space from the current group that purchased it or the second group that was trying to buy it. The bigger opportunity was the major player that was ultimately going to fall into place and purchase this. And we had our reservations going into this that this particular group that bought the facility. We had previously approved 2 purchase agreements prior to this with them, and they closed on neither of them. Hopefully they still close. As of today, they haven't, and all we've heard is the excuses.
Isn't that one of the problems that Taylor voters and your basic person who's sitting there down on West Street or something doesn't really understand? And that is that just because you say that you've come to a deal doesn't mean that you've closed the deal. And historically, you've noticed that the city of Taylor has been a little bit remiss on some of these closings.
Yeah, we've brought several purchase agreements forward to the city council. We being the city, the administration. City council has approved several of these, and their closing rate is very, very poor. The administration, it seems like they look for the headlines in the papers, but they don't look for results. And what we need are results. We don't need headlines in paper. We need results. We need, in a deal like this, we need the $600,000 of revenue tied to this sale. And we need somebody that's going to be in there creating a good synergy for that area of town, and ultimately, putting money back in the tax roll and creating jobs.
That same article that Dave wrote, he was talking about, you've talked about the appraisal process, or lack thereof. The mayor has talked about the appraisal process. This time he threw it in there with your name hooked to it, saying that, well, now they're finally going to come through with an appraisal process. The very first words out of your mouth when you and I were reading that article were well, what type of appraisal did we get? Right. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, there's all kinds of appraisals. We've seen professional opinions. Then there's fragmented appraisals, and what we need ultimately is a certified appraisal on the entire deal. And what that means is there's the Sportsplex, the TSX, and then there's 14 acres on the other side of Superior. We don't want to see an appraisal just on the Sportsplex. We want to see it on the entire deal, including the 14 acres. Ultimately, that's what this particular group is trying to purchase from the city of Taylor. So in the previous deal, they claim to have had an appraisal completed, although we, the city council, never had an opportunity to see it. But as I understand, it didn't include the 14 acres on the other side of Superior, and it came in far under value. Well, this deal does include the 14 acres, so the appraisal should in fact include 14 acres of Telegraph Road frontage. I mean, there is a significant value to that piece of property.
Well, you were also pointing out to me off camera that when we were discussing this, that the other issue is simple economics. You built the Sportsplex for X number of dollars. These other acres are worth X number of dollars, supposedly on the market at one time. And the Taylor taxpayers are out there for a given amount.
Absolutely.
And that amount is what now? I mean, what in general? What are we talking about? They're out $14 million or $10 million?
Well, ultimately, I don't remember what the property on the other side of Superior is, but we had 26 million in the Sportsplex, which today 14 million remains on the bond.
Right.
So if we sell it for 5.4, we're on the hook for, for the remaining, several $1 million. And the difference is yes, while the city continues to run it and they continue to struggle, there is a benefit to the taxpayer. I mean, it is ultimately still the city's property. If we sell it, we're going to be paying on a bond that the asset is in somebody else's name. And we're going to give that up. And once you give it up, it's never coming back. We're never going to have another sports place. And so I just think that these decisions need to be looked at long and hard and calculated. And quite honestly, I don't know that this administration has done that to date. It seems like every deal that comes through happens across the mayor's desk. They run to city council and say, look what we have. We have another buyer. Let's close it and get it on the tax rolls. Well, like I said earlier on in the segment, it just seems like they're more interested in making headlines than accomplishing something positive for the community.
Well, it's also rather ironic that when the mayor was running for office, okay, he ran for council, then he ran for mayor, he was always very critical of land sales and building sales to help balance the budget. Well, now that he's in office for 3.5 years and the deficit is much worse than it's ever been in Taylor, now all of a sudden that's looking so attractive. To me, that doesn't make a lot of sense, except from a desperate political thing.
Well, you hit the nail on the head. It's desperation. I mean, when you've had no economic development in 3.5 years, you have to create it somehow. And he's doing it artificially through building sales and property sales and and anything else that he can possibly sell to bring in some kind of revenue so that he can try to eliminate the deficit. And quite honestly, I just don't think that the city of Taylor can sustain another 4 years of this leadership, or lack thereof in this particular case. We simply need to get back to some fundamentals of growing our community, and we need to focus on economic development. And once you sell all this stuff, what's the next level? And once it's gone, there's nothing left to sell. We got to get some brick and mortar type opportunities in the city of Taylor, and just by selling off everything, you're not going to accomplish that goal.
Well, this also spins off into the Parks and Recreation venue or format area, because there are no real concrete promises out there that the sportsplex would remain a sportsplex, correct? I mean, I've heard, go-karts and things like that, but, Will Taylor, the Sheridan Center was there for a long time. It was made as a nice arena. Then you went away from the ice. Now you put a beautiful arena, one of the state's nicest arenas.
Sure.
And I've been to every, with my kid, I've been to all of them.
Sure.
Now you're talking about taking it away. I'm not saying that might not be the most prudent thing for Taylor in the long run. It could be. But what people have to understand is there aren't any guarantees. It could be the sportsplex day, and it could be something tomorrow.
There's not as I comb through that purchase agreement, there's not a guarantee in it that says it's going to be anything. It's going to be whatever the new owners want it to be. Right. Now, they bring a very colorful PowerPoint to City Council and said, we'd like to bring a Sky Zone here, we'd like to bring a Cracker Barrel here, and they try to take people to the top of the mountain and show them what it could be, but it doesn't say they're anywhere near those deals. I mean, it could be a lot of things. I mean, so as we went through this and we talked to the potential purchaser, and we asked the questions like, do you have a deal with these groups? And the answer was no. We're just reaching out to them. It's very early, yet they portray it as if a deal is in place. Look, I would love to see some of these things take place in the city of Taylor. I just think we have to be very careful about doing our due diligence and slowing the deal down and making sure it's the best deal for the taxpayers, the best deal for the city of Taylor. Ultimately, that's who we represent.
Well, when it comes right down to it, Rick, I don't think you could say it any better than you just did, because ultimately, it's really not about, the mayor may have hit something here. This may be the right deal for Taylor.
Sure.
Okay? But the point of it is there are guidelines, there are processes to go through to get to the right deal.
Absolutely.
And it seems like time and again, we just never go through the process.
Absolutely. That seems to be the issue. Nobody wants to do the hard part, and that's the due diligence. We just, we have a fiduciary responsibility, and we have to, number one, understand the value. Number two, protect the interest of the city. And number three, we want to see the best opportunity. That is a major portion of Telegraph Road. We have to be very careful about what ultimately ends up in there.
Right. And we want the best for the city of Taylor.
Absolutely.
Ultimately.
Absolutely.
The better it is, the better it is.
Absolutely.
Rick, you're a good man.
Thank you, Carl.
All righty.